Good evening and welcome to Tracking the Tropics. I'm meteorologist Wes Hohenstein in Raleigh, North Carolina. We have just gotten past the meteorological peak of hurricane season. We're halfway through September, and boy, do we have our hands full tonight. We have got 4 named storms, 3 other potential storms out there, and we're going to go to New Orleans and Panama City surrounding Hurricane Sally, which of course is the big story in the weather world across the country. Let's bring you the very latest as we go live now with radar, and we're tapped in with all our sensors both on land and over water as this Category 1 hurricane is slowly inching toward the coast of either Florida or Alabama. Right now, it's a little less than 80 miles south of Mobile, Alabama. Over the course of the last 24 hours, the storm has weakened. Remember, yesterday it was a Category 2 hurricane, now down to Category 1 status. But just look at some of the wind gusts. And, you know, the wind gusts over water are always going to be a little bit stronger than over land just because of topography. So keep that in mind. But just an amazing wind gusts currently southeast of the eye of Hurricane Sally tonight. There's an 89-mile-per-hour gust, a 63-mile-per-hour gust, again over water. But over land, winds are really starting to pick up. There's a 51-mile-per-hour gust recently in Mobile, Alabama. You can see the radar. In fact, let's switch over to what the radar looks like big picture, as a Hurricane Hunter aircraft is actually out there investigating the storm right now. Nearly 400 miles from the western edge of the rain all the way to the eastern edge, which is on the east coast of Florida. So not only is it a massively large system with its cloud structure, but a huge rainmaker. And unfortunately, you know, a Category 1 hurricane always makes big news, unfortunately does a lot of damage. But the 80-mile-per-hour winds, in my opinion, aren't the big story with this storm. It's the movement. Right now, it's only moving north at 2 miles per hour. So one of the things the Hurricane Hunter aircraft will be investigating is the forward motion. That'll be very important to the forecast going forward about how much rain our friends along the Gulf Coast will get. Interesting to note, you know, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft have 2 home bases. One is in just outside of Tampa, Florida. The other is at Keesler Air Force Base just outside of Biloxi, Mississippi. Obviously, the planes can't really be taking off and landing in that area with a hurricane on their doorstep. So they're actually coming out of Ellington Field in Houston, Texas, coming over to investigate, literally flying over where they're normally based. So still doing some very important work. Here's everything in motion. And remember, we show these storms over the past 12 hours so we can kind of get an idea of where it's going. This thing just hasn't moved much all day long. The Gulf Coast has getting battered with these outer rain bands. Remember, that's some of the heaviest rain. They also bring some of the strongest wind gusts. So at 2 miles per hour, if you think about it, 80 miles south of Mobile, Alabama, it would take it 40 hours to finally get to Mobile. Now, that's not actually going to be the case because the forecast is for this storm to eventually speed up. But the slower a system moves, the more damage you're going to have, the more storm surge, the stronger the winds are going to be, and the longer they're going to last, meaning more power outages, more trees and power lines down, and the more rain that's going to accumulate. So here is the very latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Again, the 8 p.m. information keeps winds at 80 miles per hour where they've been for the last several hours, and it's still moving north at 2. It will eventually pick up a little bit of forward speed moving inland sometime tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning. Then obviously once it's inland, it will start to weaken and eventually speed up. But when you speed up from a starting position of 2 miles per hour, it's going to take a long time to really get going, and therefore it's going to be around the southeast part of the United States, even though it'll weaken to a tropical storm through Wednesday and early Thursday morning, then becoming a depression and a remnant low as we head into Thursday and Friday. The whole time, though, it'll continue to drop rain across parts of Alabama, Georgia, South, and North Carolina. Now, our friends from the Florida Panhandle all the way over through the coast of Alabama, Mississippi, and New Orleans are currently under either a tropical storm warning or a hurricane warning. And each of these warnings means that hurricane or tropical storm conditions are expected in the near future. So those are the current warnings. Here's an idea of where this storm is right now. And then we're going to go down to our friends in Panama City and New Orleans. We literally have the storm surrounded. We're going to check in live to see how things are going there. But let's pick it up from pretty much where we are right now. This is the forecast path, mainly with the rain, because I think that's going to be one of the biggest stories with this system. Double-digit rainfall amounts in some areas. By early tomorrow morning, moving inland, but still dumping a lot of rain on places that are going to be getting rain for nearly 48 hours straight. By Wednesday night, things start to relax a little along the immediate coast, but inland heavy rain in parts of Alabama and Georgia will continue Wednesday night. Into Thursday morning, the storm mainly over Georgia, but spreading into South Carolina and North Carolina. That's on Thursday. So a wet day for Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. And then Thursday night, still heavy rain across parts of South Carolina and North Carolina. So the slow-moving storm is going to be with us in some way or the other the rest of this week. Right now, I want to take you down to Panama City. I want to welcome in our first guest for tonight. Melissa Thomas is a meteorologist at our sister station in Panama City. And Melissa, I'll start you off with just kind of telling us what you guys have been living through right here in Panama City throughout the day Tuesday.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, it's been a long duration event. One of the things we're trying to communicate to our viewers the most is the long duration of it, starting even last night, moving into this morning. The rain started and it has not stopped. Bands of very heavy rain moving through many of the same communities, just back to back to back. Some of the recent scans and radar scans of the amount of rain that has already fallen in some communities is up to 14 and 15 inches in certain areas along Panama City Beach, for example. And then even in downtown Panama City, we're getting reports from the National Weather Service on multiple 911 calls of roads being flooded in the downtown Panama City area and then stretching up north into Panama City. There's been multiple flash flood warnings have already been activated for many areas across the entire panhandle, stretching from counties from Walton County all the way to Franklin County, Walton County being to Panama City's west, and Franklin County being to Panama City and Bay County's east. A lot of the rivers are forecasted to reach major flooding status further inland as the bands continue to travel north. And some of those rivers that have already been actively warned for flash flooding and flood warnings is because they're exceeding their forecasted amount already. So those rivers are receiving so much rainfall that they are rising at a level that even the forecast didn't see coming throughout the day today. So active warnings have been issued and even voluntary evacuation orders were sent out for communities in Walton County, where a lot of the heavier rain bands closest to the core of Hurricane Sally to the southwest of Walton County has been driving rain in all day long. And that's thankfully the isolated tornado threat we've been watching has the rotating cells have remained offshore. So that has not moved in, thankfully. It has been the rain that has been the major events that we are living throughout today, this morning, this afternoon, tonight, and into tomorrow. That's kind of a summary of today.
Yeah, Melissa, I've been watching your radar, and I've been watching for the tornado threat too, so that's good you haven't seen that yet, but that's still a possibility. Before we get back to you, Melissa, I want to show everyone real quick. Here's the forecasted rainfall totals for this whole event for a few select areas. You can obviously see the swath of where the heaviest of rain will be from right around Pensacola, Mobile, just west of where Melissa is in Panama City. That's where some of the heaviest rain will be, cutting up through parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Here are some of the totals. Close to 15 inches in Pensacola. Forecast totals in Panama City, close to 8 inches, close to 9 inches in Enterprise, Alabama. Montgomery, Alabama, 3 inches. So what's interesting is, there are parts of Alabama that are going to get a lot less rain than look at Atlanta, look at Greenville, South Carolina, look at Charlotte, North Carolina, 4 to 6 inches. So this thing is still going to be a really heavy rainmaker as it moves inland over the course of the next days. And Melissa, I'll bring you back in Panama City. What are you guys, it's already been a really busy day. What are you guys looking for overnight and tomorrow? When are you going to be out of the clear? What's ahead for you guys?
Well, unfortunately, as with long duration events, the end site is still a little whiles off for the surrounding communities, Bay County, Panama City, Washington, Walton, the panhandle, essentially. Tonight, we're monitoring those rotating cells offshore and monitoring the threat for that isolated tornadoes to move further inland with the motion of the storm as it continues eventually northward tonight, and see making sure that those don't move inland in a dangerous manner throughout the night tonight. So we'll be watching those, be communicating to our local viewers to have ways to get warnings in case they do become more critical. The cells that are moving in with those rain bands that are approaching, moving onshore and into further inland areas. But then absolutely the rainfall, the continued rainfall that will be moving in overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, even into tomorrow afternoon, as the bands continue across the panhandle and Hurricane Sally moves inland north and northeast of us. So earlier we checked out some future scans of rainfall. I mentioned earlier today we've seen double digits in some areas across Bay County, active flash flood warnings. Today, about a couple of hours ago, forecasted for double digits up to 10 inches more in the next 12 to 24 hours. So what we've already accumulated, it's already causing troubles in the cities and roadways and initiating 911 calls. We're only going to get up to 10 inches more rainfall. So that's really what we're going to be monitoring, is just making sure that isolated tornado threat remains isolated, does not become an issue, and then monitoring, of course, the extra rainfall that we are going to continue to get into tomorrow afternoon.
Melissa, I want to bring it back to a forecast of winds, and I want to point out to everybody, so you're going to see the wind gust forecast over the next 24 hours, but you're also going to see where the center of this storm is expected to go. Everything that Melissa is telling us is happening in Panama City. Notice how far away they are from where the eye is going to be. This is a great example of, I know we always forecast on the cone and where the center of the storm is. This is a great example of how widespreading the impacts could be. So let's keep an eye on the time up here and the wind gust forecast, which, to be honest with you, are verifying pretty close to what we're seeing real time with the forecast number. So I'll put everything into motion. Here comes the center moving inland tomorrow morning. That's when things are really going to get sporty. Pensacola, Mobile, 70+ mile per hour wind gusts. Remember, it's a 40 mile per hour wind gust that starts to knock down trees and power lines, and people lose power. So beyond that, things are just going to get much worse. So from Wednesday morning, again, here's where the eye is going to be at 10 p.m. by Wednesday night. It hasn't made a lot of headway inland, but they still have some wind gusts really across all of Alabama and the Florida Panhandle in excess of 40 miles per hour. It'll continue to move inland through Thursday morning. That's when the winds will finally start to relax along the immediate coast, but there's probably still going to be some 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts as the storm continues to move inland. And Melissa, as I show everyone right now just how much other activity is going on in the Atlantic right now, there's a lot going on, which I'll get to. I'd like you to kind of compare this storm. We talked to you guys a lot during Hurricane Michael. I know this is no Michael from a few years ago. You spent a good part of your life in Panama City. Can you compare this storm to others that have hit that area?
I can compare. Well, I was here through Ivan. So Hurricane Ivan, when it had landfall to our west, was a major tornado threat. So thankfully, we're not seeing a repeat in that. And it was moving relatively quickly. Hurricane Michael was moving very quickly. So really, my comparisons to the storms that have moved through this area is the differences. And unfortunately, with Hurricane Sally, the difference between both those storms is Hurricane Sally is moving so slow. So with Hurricane Michael being a wind, storm surge, everything that a hurricane can deliver, as devastating as it was, it moved in and out very quickly. Hurricane Ivan delivered tornadoes across the panhandle. We're not seeing that. With Hurricane Sally, it is just really the rain that is our issue with it. Unfortunately, comparing to old storms such as Hurricane Michael, one thing I think is important to note is that there's a lot of communities. That storm was only 2 years ago, October 2018. So there's still a lot of communities putting themselves back together from Hurricane Michael. And that storm was so massive that the fallout is still being felt today. And now we're having double digits, 15 inches of rain in some areas across communities that are still putting themselves back together. There's roofs that are still being repaired that are now getting all of this rain dumped onto their shelter currently for this storm. I think Hurricane Ivan and Hurricane Michael are the two major storms that come to my mind when I think about comparing it to the old storms. But definitely not a Hurricane Michael wind event, but presenting its own threats that are adding on top of an old storm that already moved through the community, with its own threats being the rain event versus a wind threat, just piling on an already recovering community and communities across the Panhandle. It's not just Bay County and Panama City.
Yeah, excellent point. Melissa Thomas joining us tonight from Panama City. Some communities are still recovering. I'll tell everyone watching, Melissa is joining us on Skype because on the TV channel, they are continuing to cover the rain moving through, the wind event, the tornado threat. So good of her to step aside and update everyone here on Tracking the Tropics about what's going on as Hurricane Sally is about 80 miles south of Mobile, Alabama tonight. Again, that's Melissa Thomas in Panama City. Thanks, Melissa. We'll catch you down the road. So not only is Sally out there, but for this graphic, I've got to literally step off screen so you can see everything. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 active systems out there right now. So obviously, Sally is the big impact event and the major story for most of us in the eastern part of the United States. There's also another tropical wave in the Western Gulf that we're going to talk about in a second. But if you'll remember, we also have Paulette, which as far as threat to the United States is no longer because it's in the North Atlantic. We have Teddy, which right now is a low threat. That's going to be more of a problem for Bermuda, most likely. There is Vicky, which is just off the coast of Africa, not a big threat. And then there are 2 tropical waves, one way up here in the North Atlantic, not really worried about that in the United States, and then another one that's recently come off the coast of Africa that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. But of the named systems out there that have official tracks from the National Hurricane Center, here's where each of them are going. And as we mentioned, Paulette, a Category 2 hurricane now, that's going to continue in the North Atlantic. Only shipping and fish interest will run into problems there. Vicky is a tropical storm. That's expected to dissipate in the next couple of days. Here's the one we're going to keep an eye on. Tropical Storm Teddy. Likely to become a hurricane in the next couple of days, possibly a major hurricane, and then head for Bermuda. And at first glance at this track, you may look at and say, well, wait a minute, if the track at 5 days is there, isn't day 6 and day 7 going to continue on to the United States? That is not the case. Those of you on the East Coast, you know we had a cold front move through already. There's another one this weekend. We expect those cold fronts to help deflect and eventually turn this system to the north. So while at first glance, Tropical Storm Teddy's track looks a little bit scary for the East Coast of the United States, remember, we also expect this to eventually curve to the north. So we'll continue to watch that. You know, I want to bring it back to the Gulf of Mexico because it's not just east of the center of Hurricane Sally that's experiencing problems. We also have some issues on the western side. And before we bring in our next guest live in New Orleans, I want you to check out this report from earlier on how southeast Louisiana is preparing for Hurricane Sally.
Water, submerged streets, and closed floodgates are what you'll see when in St. Bernard Parish.
We will never stand down, and we will always make sure that we give enough attention to this area.
Closing the floodgates on Monday at 1 p.m. was a difficult decision for McInnes to make. He knows keeping them closed affects the fishing industry, but it protects the citizens.
All day we've been fighting floods outside of our levee system, and people don't understand that. You know, it's going to Pensacola, wherever they say they're going now. This is what we deal with for these storms.
On one side of the floodgates, it's dry. On the other, it's a different story. What you're looking at behind me, that's not a river, it's a road, which is why it's so important to only travel in high water vehicles when you're in this area. Taking us for a closer look at what's happening in St. Bernard Parish. There's empty streets, closed businesses, and several feet of water in some areas, which is continuing to rise. You'll see a few folks on the other side braving the storm. One of those is David Weller.
We were kind of worried about the storm surge a little bit, but once it started moving, we good. I know it floods down there, We never flooded here. We've been here about 5 years.
After surviving Katrina, Weller feels like he can survive any storm.
We only left for one storm, and that was Andrew, and we had little young kids. But all the other storms never did leave.
Once the storm passes, it will be back to work for most of the parish.
We're going to have to work hard from our commercial fishermen and government agencies to get them back to work as soon as we can, but it won't be tomorrow.
Residents normally live all along this road, but right now they're all on the opposite side of the floodgates, and it's easy to see why. Reporting in St. Bernard Parish, I'm Peyton Locicero.
Sally is the fourth hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico this year. Sally, Hannah, Marco, and Laura. So our next guest has been incredibly busy this year. Let's bring in our friend, meteorologist Hank Allen in New Orleans. Hank, let's kind of transition from Sally to what else is going on in the western Gulf of Mexico. I mentioned there are 7 systems out there. What are you guys thinking about this next system in the western Gulf that could be affecting the Gulf of Mexico?
Well, I tell you, it has been a busy season. You are right about that, although strangely minimal impacts for New Orleans. Of course, we've been pulling 12-hour shifts and doing all this coverage and really haven't seen much locally here, which is great news, obviously, except for the coastal flooding. And yeah, you're talking about this tropical wave, which is down here in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, just sort of hanging out near the Bay of Campeche there. It's an interesting scenario. Of course, this time of year in the Gulf of Mexico, we start to not only focus on the big systems are out there like this, but you start as you get later in September to start to get a few of those little early season cold fronts coming in that you mentioned, Wes, and we're going to see one of those here later this week. So, of course, you can get a little shot of fall there, and everybody's just begging for that this far south. By this time of year, you know, some lows in the 60s, which I know sounds pretty meaningless probably up there, but if you can get lows down in the mid-60s here for a couple of nights or a couple of mornings, it just makes it feel so much better. So we're going to have one of those little fall fronts coming in by the end of the week. And so what we watch for a lot of times this time of year is a front that isn't strong enough to push all the way through the Gulf of Mexico, just sort of lingers along the northern part of it for a couple of days, and you can start to get thunderstorm activity developing along that. And if it sits there long enough, it starts to swirl around a bit and develop its own tropical wave. Well, at this point, we already have a tropical wave down here. This area highlighted by the Hurricane Center, that yellow means a low chance of development over the next 5 days at 20%. But as that next front starts coming, look how elongated this is. It's not your typical tropical wave where you just see a little swirl or something like this. This is more of an elongated trough at this point. And so as that next front begins to move in and move off the coast of Texas, at least the northern sections of this batch, I think, start to interact with that frontal boundary, which by nature have lower pressure with them anyway. And so when you get that combined with a little tropical wave that's already out there, I still think it's a relatively low-end chance or a low to medium chance, maybe 50, 60% at this point. But I think by the end of the weekend into early next week, you may actually see another tropical disturbance here in the western Gulf that tries to intensify into a depression. And then, of course, at that point, you just have to wait and see what happens. Most likely that would head off to Texas with some of the moisture feeding up along that front into the northern Gulf. And keep in mind, we're talking about 6 to 7 days out here. So this is all kind of sketchy in the world of prognostications with fronts this time of year getting here anyway. But, you know, if you do get something that develops along a front that starts feeding moisture up along it, let's say that front gets hung up over Alabama or over the Florida Panhandle, I mean, you could be looking at more rain just sort of running along that. So we definitely don't want that to happen, and we don't want any tropical development. So I'm still looking at a low-end chance, but that's what would happen, I think, if we see anything in the next 5 to 10 days. It would be that scenario happening probably, you know, again, into the weekend, early next week.
Yeah, right on the heels of Sally. Let's get back to Sally, Hank, because as I'm showing everyone a live look at radar, I mean, you guys had in the Gulf of Mexico a Cat 2 hurricane yesterday, and anytime anything is in the Gulf, I know most of Louisiana is on high alert. Talk to me about what you guys have been living through with Sally and what impacts you're seeing there in southeast Louisiana.
Big time high alert. I mean, think about the past few months here. Of course, we had Cristobal, which was really just a storm surge threat, some tornadoes associated with that, but nothing major. For a while there, you had the initial forecast tracks of Marco and Laura coming right up over the area, which would have just been horrible to get 2 of those. Marco fizzles out, Laura goes west. Then just as recent as Saturday night, Sunday, you had the forecast track from the Hurricane Center, you know, with big time rain impacts, flooding impacts over our area here in southeast Louisiana. And then by Sunday evening, at least I was saying that I think the impacts are going to start shifting east of Metro New Orleans and along the Mississippi coast. But of course, the Hurricane Center finally made that shift the next day. So we have amazingly dodged a bullet here all season long. And you're right, people are obviously on edge most of the time there's any sort of system nearby. Nobody wants to get one of these. We've really only had a couple of significant ones since Katrina. You had Isaac in 2012, Gustav in 2008. But really nothing. I mean, 2012, that's 8 years ago. We haven't had anything significant since then. And so this had the chance to be until it moved off to the east. So basically all we're getting right now is some of that coastal storm surge flooding. You heard Peyton's package there. This is St. Bernard Parish right here. And so this is a northerly flow mainly coming in on the western side of this storm. So it is pushing water into some of these areas. And if you're not familiar with the region, I mean, basically the New Orleans metro area, when we talk about the levee system, it's just a big, giant, basically in circulation of a concrete wall, and then you have these gates over some of the roads to drive in and out of. And so if the water gets too high, they close the gates. If you're stuck on the other side, you're just stuck out there until the end of this thing. So you're riding it out on your own. But you know, no flooding concerns inside the levee system. We haven't seen that really at all over the past several years. But outside the levee system, when you get into these lower lying spots, I mean, we're talking inches off the ocean anyway. And so you're certainly getting some of that flooding. There's actually a pretty stiff northerly wind coming in on the lakefront here in New Orleans. So if you've seen some other maybe national media coverage or people posting pictures of water washing over the lakefront, that's why. It's not unusual. It's not that big of a deal. But otherwise, we've had really minimal impacts. Winds have been 25 to 30. It's like a cold front went through today with a few showers here and there. You can see most of the rain off to the east, and even our Mississippi counties, which tend to take it a lot more than New Orleans does, they're getting spared mostly as well. So, you know, this has worked out pretty well at this point.
Southeast Louisiana it has. Hank, I thought of you earlier today. I saw this video of 2 floating casinos in Alabama that got loose because of the hurricane. And I thought of you because New Orleans has a similar situation. You guys got the Mississippi River. You guys got a lot of water around, a lot of shipping interest. I mean, have you seen anything like that ever, or specifically in your area?
This was getting creepy for a moment because we've never met, and I'm thinking to myself, who told this guy that I'm a casino guy, that I like to gamble a little bit? But I see where you're going with that. You had me worried for a minute. I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, actually I haven't. I mentioned Gustav back in 2008. So you do have the Mississippi River coming down, of course, as we know, towards the Gulf of Mexico. But between Lake Pontchartrain and the river, we have what we call the Industrial Canal, which is this huge, just wide, you know, man-made canal, obviously a body of water, which the levees did break. If you think about the 9th Ward flooding during Katrina, one of the levees that broke was on that Industrial Canal. And actually during Gustav, I mentioned back in 2008, you had a barge up there. And I remember even at the time, people were like, why is this thing up here? And, you know, it's human error. Somebody didn't move it where they were supposed to. And you get that persistent wind coming through, and it just broke the mooring. And luckily, it didn't break the levee. I mean, when you start seeing these things floating around inside a caged system, basically with a levee on the side, I mean, it's anybody's ballgame at that point. We saw it happen in Lake Charles, of course. One of the casino boats got wedged under the bridge. I think there was some construction work being done on the ones around Mobile. So, you know, it's obviously hard to move these things ahead of time, but I mean, look, this is the gamble that you have here. If you're doing these casino boats or anything like that, any sort of large semi-permanent boating vessel with a major system coming in, I mean, it's hard to fight Mother Nature. It's hard to tie these things down and guarantee that they're not going to break loose. And I got to tell you, when they do, it is a scary sight because you don't know what's happening after that.
Yeah. And Hank, you know, we're all living through this season together. You see what's behind me in these 7 potential systems out in the Atlantic. The records, you know, Sally is the 4th hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Sally could become and will become overnight and tomorrow morning the 4th landfalling hurricane this year. Sally, the 7th hurricane overall. We could have number 8 tomorrow. We're about ready to go through the whole name list. I'll get you out of here on this. What are your thoughts on this amazing season we're living through?
You know, the only comparison you can make is 2005, right? I mean, with Katrina and Rita and Wilma, and I would say the impacts to the Gulf or to the U.S. mainland in general are going to be less this year, most likely, than that, even though we've had a couple of these big hits. I mean, those were just monster storms hitting the U.S. But You know, look, we went through a pretty slow decade after that, late 2000s, early teens, and this year coming in, and I've got to give the long-range forecast some credit. I mean, this year you heard for a very long time, I know you were talking about up there probably, and you know, all the meteorologists were talking about how this is anticipated to be a record-setting busy year, and you hear that and you're like, and I hate the long-range forecast, but man, this one's panning out, and we're going to head into the Greek alphabet and still have another month or so to go with some more activity potentially popping up, and there's storm fatigue everywhere. People are tired of watching this mixed with the pandemic. I mean, 2020 we're all tired of, but you can't let your guard down because there's still an opportunity for stuff to pop up, and this is just, as you said, a record-setting year, and you know, hopefully we don't have to do it again anytime soon. I love talking with Ken Graham, the director of the National Hurricane Center, but I told him, I said, hopefully we can get you in on a sunny day sometime because this is getting a little silly here. But, you know, hopefully we don't have to have a season like this anytime soon.
Right. Sunny days. We are looking forward to those all around. That is Hank Allen, good enough to join us in New Orleans tonight as he and the rest of the weather team all along the Gulf Coast have been very busy this year. We mentioned some of the records that we're breaking. We could have hurricane number 8 this month. Let me specifically get the statistic for you. So we have already had 7, named storms this month. Nana, Omar, Paulette, Renee, Sally, Teddy, and Vicky. Right behind me could be the 8th named storm to form this month. And I'll wrap up with this few statistics for you. Right now, just off the coast of Africa is a disorganized area of thunderstorms, a tropical wave that is now over water, and that the Hurricane Center is giving a 50% chance of developing in the next 2 days and a 70% chance developing in the next 5 days. So obviously way, way out there. Ahead of it, that's Teddy. All right, so we've got a long time to figure this out. But to put it all in perspective, and I'll show you the computer models real quick, this one bears a little bit of watching because anytime they stay around this latitude, the forecast path the computer models are showing us, that's something you want to keep an eye on. If it turns, obviously, a sigh of relief for most of the United States. But this new tropical wave, we will keep a little closer eye on. And if it does get a name, can you believe, as we look at the entire name list that we had before the season started, as well as the Greek alphabet, Wilfred is our last name on the normal list, and we potentially could have that form in the next couple of days, which would bring us to, for only the second time ever, the Greek alphabet, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, Zeta, and Eta. If you'll remember, in 2005, the record-breaking season, the only other time we went into the Greek alphabet, we made it all the way to Zeta. So as we put this season in perspective and finish up tonight on Tracking the Tropics, 2005 to this point remains the most active Atlantic tropical season on record. 28 named storms. As of today, we have 20 this year. We could have 21 in the next couple of days, and we still have 2.5 months left to go in the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. So that brings us to a close tonight on Tracking the Tropics. For Hank and Melissa and everyone who made tonight's show possible, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll be back with a special edition tomorrow night, right here where you're watching this at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, as Hurricane Sally heads landfall for the Gulf Coast. Thanks again for being part of our evening. We're glad you're here. I'm Wes Hohenstein, live in Raleigh, North Carolina. You've been watching Tracking the Tropics.